Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Outdoor Channel. This is our Lund 1875 Crossover XS and we've just finished up our 4th full season with this boat. We have spent a ton of time on our local lakes here in southern Wisconsin. We have also spent a total of 10 weeks up in Canada fishing this very heavily. In today's video, we're going to do a quick walkthrough, tell you everything that this boat is, tell you a couple things that this boat is not, what kind of makes a crossover. And for 2026, Lund has made a few updates to this boat. We're going to go over what some of those changes are. Some of those things are nice improvements. Some of those things are, I'm not sure why they did that, but they did it anyway. We'll try to cover as much of that as we possibly can. We're going to go back and review some of the speed testing we've done with this boat using 4 different props and tell you what prop I use and why. We're going to go through some of the options we've got from the dealer, some of the things we did after the purchase, some of the modifications that we've made, some things around electronics, how we've networked things, how we rig things up. And then after all of that, I'm going to tell you whether I think I would buy this boat again or would I move on to something else. So that's all coming up next. Stay tuned. Alright, so diving into some of the specifics about the boat, it comes in 2 different versions, a 1775 and an 1875. The 1775 is 17 foot 10 inches, this 1875 is 18 foot 10 inches and has a 95-inch beam, which is pretty wide, keeps the boat very stable. If you do opt for the smaller 1775, the boat layout is pretty much the same thing, just the distance here from the windshield to the back of the boat is about a foot shorter. Otherwise, the layout, I believe, is pretty much identical. That boat will have a max horsepower of a 150, although most of them seem to come with a 115 for some reason. This 1875 has a max horsepower of 175, but mostly comes with a 150. What we have here is the 150 Pro XS. The fuel fill is going to be in the back on the port side, and it has a 35-gallon capacity, so plenty of fuel to get to wherever you're going. Looking at the exterior of the boat, Lund has a number of different colors you can order from them. This will depend on whether you're ordering a boat from Lund through a dealer or you're just picking up something from, let's say, the dealer showroom floor. This one happens to be a red with a black, but they have a white, they have gray, they have blue. I do wish they had a green. You can change up the combination, so you could have red with black, you could have white with red and things like that. There's a couple different ways you can get the graphics from Lund. You can get your typical vinyl letters here. What I ended up doing after the purchase is I bought the Lund raised logo here. I'm not afraid of docks where I'm at, so I'm not worried about these coming up. I think it looks exceptionally nice. It looks more like a Type E or a Pro V. I like the way it looks, and it's a nice little upgrade that you can do. You don't need to spend a ton of money for the dealer to do it. It's something you can do yourself. As far as trailers, most of them I think come with a Shorelander trailer. You can get it a few different ways. They have a galvanized, they have a painted. Over the last couple of years they have their protection that they put in here. I forget what they call this, but basically it's like a bed liner type of material they put on there, whether it's from Line-X or Rhino Shield or Rust-Oleum. Not quite sure what they use, but it helps protect against the rock chips. Something, again, you can do after the fact. This one happens to be a tandem trailer. Now it's probably a little bit more trailer than this particular boat needs, but I like the way it looks. This one happens to be a custom trailer, but you can get it with the kind of your standard wheels and standard plastic steps on here. Again, this one looks really nice. I like this big surface here because it's easy to stand and reach over into the boat and get whatever you need. Also, if I lose a tire, now I do have a spare, but I'm not quite as worried about it because I have 3 other tires to support the boat. On the other side of things, it's a little bit more expensive, so you got to keep that in mind. When it comes time to replace tires, I'm not just replacing 2 tires, I'm replacing 4 tires. The final thing is, it's a little bit harder to move 4 wheels than it is two wheels, so if you're in the garage and you want to maybe by hand move this from one side of the garage to the other, you're probably going to need a tractor or your truck or whatever your tow vehicle is to pick this up and move it. Moving this by hand with a boat on it, at least with 4 tires, it doesn't want to pivot like a single axle trailer wants to. So again, something to keep in mind. While we're on the exterior of the boat, let's talk about our first modification. Really, it's 2 things we did back here. Your Shorelander trailer is going to come with a plastic license plate bracket. It's okay, it's probably going to break. This is a diamond plated bracket. You can get these, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks depending on where you get them from. It's metal, so it's not really going to go anywhere. But the more important piece is this license plate holder or bracket that's here. This is also metal. Now, if you've had a trailer for any amount of time, or a boat trailer really in particular, you're going to know that the back of your wheels here, let me turn the camera, these guys right here, they're going to kick up rocks. And it happens every time. A rock's going to eventually hit this license plate and flip this plate up, and it's just a problem, right? So this metal bracket is really designed for the back of, let's say, a conversion van or a cargo van, something that maybe didn't have a license plate bracket to begin with, and your license plate slides in here and bolts into place. And for 4 seasons I've had this here, and as you can see, it hasn't gone anywhere. So this is something I would recommend. It's pretty inexpensive to do. I'll have some Amazon links down in the description. You can check that out. And something I would do right away. While we're at the back of the boat, there's 2 more I'd like to go over. The first one you can see here, this is a plastic splash guard. Now this covers the transducer and covers the transducer plate. We'll talk a little bit more about transducers here in a little bit when we get to the electronics, but this is designed to keep spray away from the inside of the boat or a rooster tail. Now in some cases a rooster tail probably not a big deal, but what ends up happening is, and it's not just this boat, it's on a number of different boats I've been on, when you put a top on the boat and you start to change the way the air is moving through the boat, for some reason it draws some of that spray into the boat and then your back passengers are getting a little bit wet. This helps prevent some of that from happening. And then I will always recommend a transom saver, especially if you're going anywhere with any amount of distance. This basically rests on there. You bring your bungee cord over to the other side. It keeps the motor from bouncing, saves the material here in your transom, and also probably saves some wear and tear in the hydraulics as well. Moving on to the interior of the boat, this is one of the things that sets the crossover apart from pretty much everything else. This is currently configured for what I call family mode. We have the aft cushions in here. It's very comfortable whether you're lounging at the sandbar, getting some sun, cruising with the family, whatever that is. You have this optional cushion set that can be installed. However, with a minimal amount of effort, I mean minimal, a few seconds, you can pull these off and this becomes a serious fishing machine. And you see these more and more with Lund models. You have your aft jump seats here. There is plenty of storage here underneath. The seats are actually very comfortable. Now you have a wide gunnel here, somewhere to rest your arm. You have the cushions here or just a live bolt here. The seat is leaning back so you're not sitting there like this, you know, in an uncomfortable position. You actually have some room to move out around here. One of the differences between this particular model and the 2026 refresh model that Lund did is on that model they took the gunnel and they tapered it down a little bit towards the back of the boat. They say it's a little bit more comfortable. Not really sure if that really makes a lot of sense or not. I actually would rather have this completely flat gunnel here because it allows me to put stuff down when I'm fishing. I'm not worried about it, you know, rolling off into the water or anything like that. So something you'll need to consider when you're looking at your boat. And like I said, take the cushions off. You have a large casting platform, access to your live well, plenty of room to fish off of here. You have room to put a pedestal seat. You have room to put your ski pile on if you want to do that. In our case, we did option for the sport top. And what's nice about this model, and again, you're seeing this more and more in different Lund models, you have a hideaway for the top when you're not using it. It's a great use of space. You're not tripping on it. You're not having to like reconfigure the boat like you used to on some of the older models to be able to put this somewhere. Tucks away nice and easy out of here when you're not using it. It's really easy to set up when you do want to use it. Moving to the midsection, this is something that I like a lot. This is the Lund Marine Mat. Now, think of something like you'd have in a warehouse or a factory where you have a fatigue mat that you would stand on if you're standing all day. That's what this feels like. They do have a few options from Lund. You can get it with just a basic vinyl floor. You can get the snap-in carpet or this snap-in marine mat. A few things that I like about it is it's just that. It snaps in and out. You can take it out. You can clean it. You can take it out and put it off to the side. It gets nice and toasty in the sunlight. So the vinyl, although I like this a lot, it can get a little hot on bare skin in the summer. This does not. This just gets a little warm. If you're out here barefoot, it feels really, really nice. Or if you need to dry off a little bit, again, it feels really good. There is room to sit 6 behind the helm, the 2 aft seats we looked at, the 2 pedestals that are here, and we did upgrade to these captain's chairs. Now these are a little bit different than the previous generation. These are air ride, but they don't have the arms. They just have big bolsters, if I'm calling it the right thing, where you can fit in there very well. The air ride keeps you very comfortable. The arms are not there and they don't get in the way, so it makes it easier to turn the chair all the way around. If you're trolling at the helm and you want to be able to turn around to get to whatever you caught, you don't have the arms in the way to kind of get hung up on, the throttle or the steering wheel, anything like that. We have this on both the starboard and port side. The wife loves it. Something I would definitely do again. And just like most boats with wide gunnels, you have some side storage here. I've got some bumpers, extra ropes, navigation lights, and a few other things that are tucked up in there. A couple of speakers that are there as well, which is kind of nice. And of course you have the Lund Sport Track system. What's kind of nice about this particular model is this side storage goes way up in here. Now you got to mind the cables and stuff a little bit, but I've got my nav lights here, as you can see, and I've got them going way up in there so they're out of the way, leaving the rest of this space open for all kinds of other stuff. Now this is one of the best things about this boat. This is a lockable storage unit, and as you can see, I've got all of my tackle right here. I can't even tell you how many different boxes of stuff I have in here. We've got all my plano boxes, we've got my net, I've got different tools and things stored in here. We've got our gloves, we've got things to repair rods and restring rods, things to clean. I mean, it's all like right in here. Now, if you're not a fisherman and you want to put skis in here or a wakeboard, life jackets, there's plenty of room. It actually goes up underneath the rod locker. We'll cover that in just a moment. You can put more rods in here if you want to, like you would see on like a tie-e. You can configure this a couple of different ways. So this is probably the biggest thing that drew me to this boat, and I probably would not do another boat unless I had something like this. Now moving up to the helm, this is an area that's very comfortable. You can spend a ton of time up here, and of course I have mine set up a little bit differently than how most Lund crossovers are set up. So got my rag, that's easy. We've got our Bluetooth stereo that's here. We have our button right here to control everything that you need at the boat. We do have our 2-way marine radio that's down here. In case of an emergency, again, we're spending a lot of time up in Canada, so having that ability to call shore, call base, call other boats that are near you, part of the party, really, really good to have. Now, this would normally have a set of gauges up here. We actually took those gauges out. Originally, I had a Helix 15 up here. It was awesome. It was a little too big. When the Explorer came out earlier this year, we got the Explorer 12. You can see we have that here. We can configure this a couple different ways. So we have our map. We have a couple different split screens on here. All kinds of different ways you can go over this. I have a separate video on the Explorer 12, and so does a bunch of other people. But because I took the gauges out of here, this is the Mercury Vessel View Mobile. Now you can run it here on a phone like I am here. You can use a tablet, whatever works for you. And this is a module that hooks up directly into the back of the motor. There's a little port, kind of like you would have on your OBD2 port on your vehicle. There's also, in my case, one underneath here. You can take, either one that you want. What's nice about this is all my gauges are here and they're digital, so I don't need to have them here anymore. And I can put this graph in here and I have a ton of space, a ton of visibility. Before I had that graph up in here, I couldn't use my cup holder I blocked this entire part of the windshield here. Here I can see everything I need to, even though it sits up a little higher. Actually, the only thing that's really covering up from my viewpoint is just the front of the gunnel of the boat there, the top of the bow. I mean, I got plenty of visibility. But going back to the Vessel View Mobile, there's speed, there's RPMs, there's different things with temperature and oil and things like that. There's fuel. Now, the analog gauge that came with the boat, just like any boat fuel gauge, is junk, right? This digital one, it is calculated, but I found that even though it's calculated, I'm usually within a gallon or so of what I'm topping it off at. So 35-gallon tank, if I go through 20 gallons, it's going to say maybe I have 19 and a half or 20 and a half gallons, something like that. Boom, I put 20 gallons in. I tell it that it's topped off. It's more accurate than the analog gauge, so I really enjoy having that. And of course, you can figure out how much fuel per hour you're consuming and things like that. So this is a great setup. It's a custom setup. I have an entire video on how I installed this base right here. For 2026, and again, you're seeing this with more Lund boats and more of the other manufacturers that are out there, they are giving you more of a flat top here, so you don't necessarily have to do the custom setup that I did here. But if you get a boat that's a couple years old that doesn't have that, this is a great option. It wasn't that hard to do, and it's really solid and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. Great visibility again. This has been a really good setup. The passenger side has this glove box that's here. It's quite large. We've got 4. You actually could fit about 6 of these really large plano boxes, as well as some room for a few of these little ones. There's a charger in there, as well as a bag with just the manuals and things like that. We also have these under the console storage drawers. Back to the business part of the boat, you have lockable rod storage here. This actually comes up all the way. It's actually an improvement from where this was before in the first generation crossover. Some gas struts here. There's room to put 10 different rods in here. Relatively easy to get rods in and out. This is an 8.5 foot trolling rod. Now it does collapse a little bit, so I think it sits about 7 foot and change. Fits in here without any issues. Your onboard charging is also down there. Now that was a factory option, but you could put your own on there. This particular charger does the 2 trolling batteries. We have a 24-volt system in the front, as well as the crank battery. This is the bow deck extension. I do recommend you getting this. It basically lifts out just like this. Now, if you have your family up here, you're doing some bow riding, you can take it out. You got room to put your feet. Quite nice. Little effort at all. Put it back in. Friction fit into place, and now you have a bigger casting deck. One of the flaws that the first gen crossover had is the bow extension locked into place, where this one just kind of lifts out and is more of a friction fit. And when you would open up your rod locker, it would only come up this high, and you'd have to basically take that bow extension out. With this particular generation and the current generation that just came out for 2026, it's a friction fit, so all you gotta do is lift up a little bit if you have it in place and you have full access to your rod locker. Bring it back down. And again, if you have it here, just knock it back in, you are good to go. Of course, the bow cushions are quite nice and comfortable. And from what I hear in 26, although these ones here in my model are not bad at all, they have improved the size of these back bolsters here. And while we're up here, this is kind of the next, little custom thing we did. This is my 2-way radio antenna. Again, places that I go to, it's kind of important to have the 2-way radio. This is a simple metal bracket, and it's got some 1/4-20 screws in here. Now, these nubs are actually for the original design for the fender holders for the boat. Had a few extra of those. I'm not sure, you can find these every now and then on Amazon or eBay. But basically, I can undo these 1/4-20s, and this tire bracket comes off of the boat, and I don't need to drill holes in the boat. I can move this backward or forward if I want to get to this cleat a little bit better, although it's pretty good where it's at. And when I put the travel cover on, I can take it off. And again, this is one of the areas where I think the crossover really shines. This is a very large area for a casting platform at the front of the boat. You can take these cushions out. You've got an area for a pedestal seat. You have that bow extension piece right there. We went over that a little bit. We have that massive Helix 15 there at the front. the 24 volt Minn Kota Altera. There's two very large storage bins underneath here. You could put tackle, you could put gear, safety equipment, anchors, chains, ropes, whatever you need. This is a great spot and a comfortable spot to spend your day in the front of your crossover. There's definitely room to put 2, maybe 3 graphs on the front here, depending if you're using live scope or something like that. This Helix 15 takes up a bit of space. I am using a balls out mount for this. I do like ram mounts, but this is just a little too big, a little too heavy. It would move a little too much. But you can, put basically whatever you want up here. Moving on to the performance part of the review, we've tried 4 different props on this. I will have them listed on the screens. We got a pretty good range of different RPMs and speeds when we try these different props. And this was all done with the Mercury 150 Pro XS that you see here. Now again, this has a max horsepower of 175. It's about $3,000 or $4,000 more to get that 175 over the 150, and from what I understand, it's maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour more. So something to think about when you get the boat. If the dealer that I bought this from had the 175, I would have happily gotten it, spent the extra couple $1,000. This is what they had. I bought this during the pandemic, and this is kind of what was available. I didn't want to wait any longer than I already was, so we ended up with this 150. It does perform, as you can see from the numbers, very well. And like I said, this is the end of the season, and doing the maintenance on this 150 is actually pretty simple. So there's lots of things I like about this boat, and there's a couple things we need to talk about that I don't like about the boat. So we've already gone through the walkthrough. I think you guys get what I like about it. Some of the things I wish they would change, and one of them they did already, is there's not enough room for graphs here in the front. I had to do the custom mount. They did fix that for 2026. So depending on what year boat you get, you'll need to deal with having a smaller graph at the front, doing a modification like I did, or buying the 2026 model where they give you a flat dash and then you don't have to worry about that. The second thing I don't like is the max horsepower on a boat this size and at this price point is only 175. No, the 150 Pro XS, it moves it very well. We're right around 50 miles an hour before I add a bunch of weight and stuff to the boat. But something, again, with this size, this weight, this price point, I really wish it was 200 or more. Something, Brunswick, hopefully if you're listening, something to think about. So would I buy this boat again? Well, it'd either be this boat or maybe the Pro V. Again, I can get it a little bit bigger. I can get a little bit more horsepower out of it. But for what this boat is, the storage that it has, this center floor storage we went over, the way that it handles having family time, I could spend time at the sandbar, we can hang out with the family, and then of course I can take it and spend many weeks up north fishing it really, really hard. The boat does an exceptional job. I am really happy with it. So thanks for watching the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. It helps the channel out quite a bit, and we will see you next time.